SpongeBob SquarePants Mysteries Stage Fright. Chapter 2. SpongeBob SquarePants. That's what they call me. And for good reasons. It's my name. Always has been. Always will be. As far as I know anyway. It's the handle that's gotten me this far, and I see no reason to change it. Sure, it's a little tricky to spell with unexpected capital letters popping up right in the middle of the first name and the last name, but I don't mind. Tricky. I've been known to get up to a trick or two myself when necessary. What do you think of when you hear that name? The tantalizing scent of scrumptious Krabby Patties, expertly fried and flipped? Yeah, me too. Guess I'm known for my spatula skills around this bird, Bikini Bottom. But lately, I've been known for something else. Detecting. Every now and then a mystery reveals itself. A crime so baffling the police, the politicians, and all the bigwigs down at City Hall are completely stumped. That's when I put on my battered old trench coat and well-worn fedora hat and go to work as the toughest private eye under the sea. The perplexing problem at hand could be just about anything. A missing friend, an unexplained trail of glowing green ooze in the sand, or, as in the case I'm about to describe, a completely different kettle of criminal fish. It was morning at the Krusty Krab. The boss and owner, Mr. Krabs, was in his office sitting behind his desk in his well-worn chair, scratching his chin with his big red claw, thinking. He was wondering whether it was too early in the day to pop out and check to see how much money there was in his beloved cash register. Of course not. He chuckled to himself, getting out of his chair. It's never too early for counting money. But when he opened his office door and stepped into the dining room, Mr. Krabs saw a scene of utter, unrestrained chaos. Where's my Krabby Patty? One fish demanded. Hurry up! Another cried. We're starving here! What's the holdup? A customer screamed, shaking his fist. This is supposed to be fast food! Customers were clamoring around the ordering boat, yelling for their orders and shouting for their food. There were so many of them. Mr. Krabs couldn't see his cash register or the employee manning it. Mr. Squidward? He asked. What in the briny blue is going on here? We don't usually get angry mobs until much later in the day. Craning his neck to see around the crowd of furious diners, Mr. Krabs spotted the worker behind the counter. To his shock, it wasn't Squidward. It was SpongeBob. The little fry cook was trying to do his job and Squidward's at the same time. He'd taken order, shot it back to the kitchen, squeezed through the window behind the rowboat stand, fry up a batch of patties, assemble the Krabby Patties, and squeeze back through the window with the order calling, Order up! But the orders came faster and faster and he couldn't keep up. Greeting the customers, making change, flipping patties, it was all too much for this one sponge. What was that order again? SpongeBob asked frantically. Just a second, sir. Your order will be right up. Yes, your change, ma'am. I haven't forgotten. Right. You wanted, coral bits with your order. Extra crispy. Oh, yeah. To go. Not for here. Oh, okay. Yes, right. Thank you. Sorry. I'm so sorry. My fault. Be right with you. Mr. Krabs pushed his way through the heaving throng of mad clients. SpongeBob, what are you doing running the cash register? You're not trained. You're not authorized. You're not even tall enough. You're supposed to be in the kitchen making Krabby Patties, not out here making a disastrous mess. Where's the Squidward? Still trying to fill orders, make change, and cook the food, SpongeBob said, I don't know, Mr. Krabs. He isn't here. I know he isn't here, Mr. Krabs roared. That's obvious. What I want to know is where is that worthless old cephalopod? When I get me claws on him. The restaurant's glass door swung open and Squidward struggled and looking exhausted. His eyes were red, his shoulders were stooped, and his jaw hung slack. Dragging his feet, he slumped across the dining room toward his cashier's stand. Sorry I'm late, Mr. Krabs, he muttered, putting on his Krusty Krab hat. You're late, Mr. Krabs bellowed. I just said that, Squidward said. And you'd better be sorry. I said that too. Don't be giving me a bunch of lame excuses, Mr. Krabs warned. I'm not interested. He squinted at Squidward. He'd never seen him looking so tired and out of sorts. For one thing, Squidward never worked really hard, so it was unusual to see him looking fatigued. Actually, I'm a little interested. Why are you late? And why do you look so terrible? Squidward slid in behind the cash register. Well, We didn't come here for story time! A really loud customer complained. What about our orders? SpongeBob jumped up onto a table to address the furious crowd. Oh, loyal Krusty Krab customers! He cried, throwing both hands wide open. You know you want your delicious Krabby Patties? Of course you do! But aren't you just as hungry for the truth? Don't you want to hear the fascinating tale that surely lies behind our friend Squidward's tardiness? No! The mob roared. We want our food now! Mr. Krabs gestured toward the kitchen. Get in there and fill all the orders, SpongeBob. Then we'll hear what Mr. Squidward has to say about why he looks like something the catfish dragged in. Moving at the speed of gray sea lightning, SpongeBob quickly filled all the customers' orders as Squidward wearily manned the cash register. Soon the Krusty Krab dining room was filled with the sounds of happy munching and gulping. SpongeBob stayed in the kitchen, scraping his grill clean, polishing his spatula, and preparing Krabby Patty ingredients for the next rush of hungry customers. He was relieved to be free from the cash register, back in the kitchen at his beloved grill, humming a happy tune as he worked. La 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 vida. Now then, Mr. Squidward, Mr. Krabs said proudly, surveying all the satisfied customers eagerly chowing down on Krabby Patties. Tell me why you're looking particularly bedraggled this morning, and why you were so late to your post. Barely able to keep his eyes open, Squidward explained that he'd been at the Drippy Lane Theater all night. The dilapidated old theater in downtown Bikini Bottom? Mr. Krabs asked. Squidward nodded. That place is still open? Mr. Krabs said, surprised. I thought that dump closed years ago. No, it's been struggling, and it's in pretty bad shape, Squidward admitted. But it's still open, and now Martin Dorado is directing a show there. Mr. Krabs made a puzzled face. Who the heck is Martin Dorado? Squidward looked mildly offended. Martin Dorado! The Martin Dorado! He's only the most famous stage actor in all the 7 seas! Normally he directs shows in Atlantic City, but he's originally from Bikini Bottom and he's come back here to put on his newest show. If this Dorado character is such a big deal in Atlantic City, Mr. Krabs asked suspiciously, why would he come back here? Squidward looked a little uncomfortable. Well, his last show was very ambitious. A huge troubled production that unfortunately failed. Now he's got a reputation for being cursed. An unfair reputation. He's going to clear his name with the show. So his last show bombed? Mr. Krabs snorted. And now he's washed up in Bikini Bottom to put on an all-night show. There's no way a show that lasts all night could possibly be a success. People don't want to be stuck in a crummy old theater overnight. The show doesn't last all night, Squidward said, looking baffled. Who gave you that ridiculous idea? You did! Mr. Krabs exclaimed. You said you were at the Drippy Lane Theater all night! He shoved his face close to Squidward, squinting suspiciously. Unless you were lying! I wasn't watching the show, Squidward said. I was working on the show. It hasn't opened yet. We're still in rehearsal. Mr. Krabs looked extremely skeptical. Yeah? In a show? What part are you playing? The broken-hearted cashier who's gotten too big for his britches? It just so happens, Squidward said, drawing himself up to his full height, that the show is a musical, and I am the musical director conducting the pit orchestra. You're in the pits, eh? Mr. Krabs said, still chuckling. It sounds about right. Squidward ignored his comment. I'm also playing several clarinet solos and, well, and never mind. He looked sly, deciding not to mention that he was also hoping to dance in the show. He figured he could name one of the instrumentalists as assistant director, let her take over for one number, and jump up on stage to dazzle the audience with a stunning dance solo. The audience would adore him. Once he was discovered as a performer, he would become a big star and quit his job at the Krusty Krab forever. The show was his ticket out of misery and into a glittering life of fame and joy. So, you've been staying up late, tootling that squeaky clarinet of yours, Mr. Krabs said. And that's why you were late, and why you look like a squashed polefish dipped in chum. You were rehearsing some show all night at some rundown theater. End of story, now it's money counting time. He yanked a claw full of cash out of the register and scurried back to his office, whistling happily. SpongeBob stuck his head through the square ordering window behind the kitchen and the dining room. I missed the beginning of your story, Squidward. What theater did you say you were moonlighting at? The Droopy Lane Theater, Squidward said without turning around, wondering if he could sneak in a quick nap before the lunch rush. The Droopy Lane? SpongeBob gushed, thrilled. You're working at the Droopy Lane Theater in downtown Bikini Bottom? His eyes were the size of double Homango Krabby Patty buns, available for limited time only. Despite his fatigue, Squidward looked satisfied. At last, someone was reacting to his impressive news properly. Yes, the Droopy Lane Theater. Have you been there? I sure have, SpongeBob said dreamily, remembering. He got a faraway look in his eyes, staring off into space. SpongeBob? Squidward asked, wondering if the little fry cook was going into some kind of trance, or possibly turning into a brain-eating zombie. SpongeBob? Stay tuned for Chapter 3, coming up soon.